I've had councils call me and say, oh,
Yeah.
we'd like to come to your Tiny Home Expo, and can you give us, you know, an air on stage? We're going to do a talk, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh, great. You know, I think you're tiny home friendly. And they're like, yeah, we're tiny home friendly. That's great. And then I've come off the phone and gone, oh, this is fantastic. You know, the council's going to come and they're going to be able to give a great talk to all the people for their area. And this is going to be, you know, it's going to be great. And then they've sent me an email and attached their legislation. And it starts with those are tiny houses above 60 square meters. They don't even know what a tiny house is. And I can tell you that the majority of councils I speak to are exactly the same. They don't know what a tiny house is. They also behave like it just popped up in their faces yesterday, but we all know that, you know, advocates have been advocating them for years and years and years. I kind of phoned her back and I said, look, you're going to get stoned if you come up on my stage. I don't think my attendees are very much at all. And I pointed out all the reasons why. One of them is that they had I think they called it an aesthetics sheet that you have to abide by, and it talks about 400 mil eaves on the roof of the tiny house, and of course that would make the tiny house illegal for towing if it was on wheels. And they had a couple of other things in there as well, which would make the off-grid elements particularly hard, that didn't need to be particularly hard. The good news is that 14, under my recommendation, 14 of those council members came to the Tiny Home Expo as just general attendees to learn something. And it's pretty much, I've had another phone call. I won't say which council, because they were just lovely, but it is a similar thing that they're missing the beat a bit. And that's why we don't have them up on stage. They actually don't know enough about tiny houses to be up on stage to give any information in a coherent way that would be accurate. So at the minute, I've been inviting them. Councils, by the way, get free tickets. I go, come on in. I couldn't be more welcoming of them to come, but I would rather they came as attendees. I'd like them to come and see the quality of the builds. I'd like them to come and listen to some of the trauma that some people are going through trying to house themselves and how they're trying to make tiny houses their solution. I'd really like them to hear that. I'd like them to hear all the different answers that they get from councils, sometimes the same councils. So one council can give 1, 2, 3 different answers to one person that's trying to work out if they can have a tiny house on their land. Ultimately, this should lead to good advocacy. The councils have everything all laid out on a field. They have experts, builders. They can inspect them for safety themselves while they're there. They can get a really good idea of not only what the industry is like, but how people feel towards them. And, you know, we all know that, you know, when you have a council such as Mount Alexander coming out with what they've done, and Esperance, you know, you're going to have a look at the comments that people make, even people that aren't going to live in tinies and aren't into tiny houses at all. They still give a nod and go, good move. That's fantastic. No one's gone, oh my God, have you seen that council's going to allow tiny houses? No one ever says that. So it's good for their connection to their own community to acknowledge tiny houses, and that people are interested in living in them and maybe renting them out, which would ease the rental prices.